welcome back to Food Prep Guide. Today we are back with another ways to save money at the grocery store. Over the weekend I was doing some pantry inventory and realized that I was out of a lot of my homemade pantry mixes. So today we are going to be making up a whole bunch of stuff and we'll bring you along for all of it. But for this video today, I just want to focus on sugar and how you can take your just regular white cane sugar and turn it into 3 different sugars so that you don't have to buy them from the grocery store. Let's get started. Welcome to Food Prep Guide. My name is Jordan. I'm a homeschooling mom to 3, living on 3 beautiful acres with my wonderful husband. A health crisis forced our family to change the way we think about food. Unfortunately, it also put us in financial hardship. Thankfully, the solution to both challenges was the same: to live off the land as much as possible. For us, that means growing a garden, preserving the harvest, raising chickens, and cooking from scratch. It's definitely a family affair. And friends, too. Meet Stacy. Researcher, author, and lifelong learner, she entered the world of food preservation in the crazy days of 2020. She joined a gleaning co-op and a local grocer offered her clearance produce in bulk, and so the adventure began. Together, we're reclaiming the old ways of food stewardship and teaching them to the next generation. If there's one thing you should know about us, it's that we love Jesus and seek to steward his blessings wisely. Our table always has room for one more. So y'all come join us. The first type of sugar that we're going to make is light brown sugar. So we don't use a ton of light brown sugar. We use dark brown sugar a lot more often. So I'm only going to be mixing up a quart jar, which is 4 cups of sugar. So to get started, I'm just going to measure out my 4 cups of sugar real quick. Okay. And then all we need is molasses. So dark brown sugar and light brown sugar, the part that makes it brown is just molasses, and it's different ratios for different shades of brown with your sugar. So for our light brown sugar, the ratio that we're going to follow is 1/2 tablespoon per 1 cup of sugar. So for 4 cups of sugar, I'm going to be using 2 tablespoons of molasses. This stuff is messy and my fingers are already getting crazy sticky. That's okay. Okay, 1. And 2. So 2 tablespoons of molasses to 4 cups of sugar. Now I'm just going to put on my paddle attachment and mix it up. You can certainly just do this with a spoon. It's not hard to mix at all, but I may as well use a stand mixer. Okay, so the stand mixer has done most of the work for us, but let me show you what the stand mixer has a hard time doing. I don't know if you can see those dark brown chunks of molasses, and every now and then, and pretty much every batch I do, for some reason there will just be these big chunks of molasses still left over even after the mixer. So I just take a spatula and I just press those chunks of molasses up against the sides of the mixer or the mixing bowl to get them nice and squished and incorporated into the rest of the sugar. And I don't worry about getting every single clump out. It's not going to mess anything up. I just like it to be as smooth as possible for baking. most of the chunks are gone now. And we're ready to load up our quart jar. That took what? 60 seconds? Quick and easy. And we didn't have to buy it at the grocery store, so it saves us money. I'm gonna have to pack it down real good to get it to fit in this quart jar. Okay, 1 quart of light brown sugar is ready to go onto the pantry shelf. Let's get started with the second recipe. Okay, the second recipe, as you may have guessed, is dark brown sugar. This is something that we use way more than light brown sugar, so I'm actually going to be making up 8 cups of this, and I have it, brown sugar has its own little pantry container, and as you can see, I'm completely out. So we're going to go ahead and mix this up. I'm not going to worry about washing my mixer and paddle and spoons and all that because we're using the exact same ingredients, just in different ratios. So for dark brown sugar, you want 1 tablespoon of molasses to 1 cup instead of half a cup. And instead of half a tablespoon with the light brown sugar, we go up to a full tablespoon per cup with dark brown sugar. So I'm going to measure out 8 cups of sugar here. Which means I need 8 tablespoons of molasses. Actually, you know what? Y'all don't need to sit here and watch me scoop out 8 tablespoons of molasses. So we'll be right back. And 8. So 8 tablespoons of molasses to 8 cups of sugar, but of course, alter that to whatever amount of sugar that you want to produce. And we're just going to mix it just like we did before for the light brown sugar. Oh, there's a huge chunk of hardened sugar. It's making it fling out of my mixer. Let me get that real quick. There we go. Wash my hands. And just like with the light brown sugar, I'm going to go ahead and take my spatula and get the sides and those big clumps of molasses that are left behind. The molasses sticks to the sides of the bowl really bad too. See that whole line of molasses right there? So just pause the mixing every now and then and scrape down the sides of your bowl to make sure you're getting every bit of product. Okay, looking good. So now I'm just going to pour it into my pantry container here. Whoops, I am not on camera. Let's push that out of the way. good thing about making your brown sugars at home is that you can make it as dark as you like. We like our brown sugar pretty dark, as you can see. We love that rich taste that the molasses adds to it. It's more not so rich as it is just like a deeper type flavor that it adds to your brownies and cookies and things like that. But dark brown sugar, easy peasy. Next is powdered sugar. Okay, I did some cleaning up and topped off my sugar, so now we're getting ready to go with the powdered sugar. So for powdered sugar, we're gonna start off with our regular cane sugar, just like we had before. This is something we don't use all that often. We pretty much only use it for cinnamon rolls, and we don't make cinnamon rolls a whole lot. So I'm gonna be making up 1 quart of powdered sugar today, and that should last us about 4 months or so. So 4 cups of sugar. And you may have noticed that I don't have my mixer out anymore, and that's because to make powdered sugar, we need some sort of grinding mechanism, whether that's a food processor, a coffee grinder, a NutriBullet, a blender, something that will grind up our sugar and the second ingredient that we're going to add in just a second. I am using the dry container for the Vitamix. So the typical containers for your regular blenders are designed more for liquids and solids, whereas the dry container kind of uses the blades. The blade design is a little bit different, and it sucks those powdered goods down and it gets them ground up very fine. So I'm going to be pouring 4 cups of sugar into here. And then the second ingredient is either cornstarch or arrowroot powder. We don't use cornstarch, we stock arrowroot powder, so that's what we're going to be using today, but you can certainly do this with cornstarch. The measurements are the same, and that is 1 tablespoon of arrowroot powder or cornstarch to 1 cup of sugar. So for 4 cups of sugar, I'm going to add in 4 tablespoons of this powder. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then it's just a matter of grinding. So I'm going to get this on here, and we're just going to grind, grind, grind. And pause this just for a second and let you know what we're looking for. So once the powder gets really good and incorporated, sorry, my camera's falling. Once the powder gets really good and incorporated into the sugar, what we're going to be doing is we're going to grind until the sugar turns into a white powder. Now I know sugar is kind of already a white powder, but it's granulated. You can clearly see the different grains, but we want it that, you know what powdered sugar looks like, and that's the consistency that we need to go for, and we need to grind until we get to that consistency. It just takes, sometimes it'll take 30 seconds, sometimes it can take 2 minutes. It depends on how much you're making at one time. So I'm just going to be watching. I don't know if you can see the color variations. I've got patches of like brown here, and then I've got some white powder starting to form. So I'm just going to grind until all of these brown patches start turning into a white powder. I'm just going to shake it up a little bit. Whoops, making a mess. Go again. might be done, but let me check and see how we're doing. Okay, so I am not quite done yet. Let me show you what I mean. This consistency, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up very good, but it is still somewhat granulated, and I want that powdery smooth. You know how smooth and powdery white sugar or powdered sugar is, and I am still getting it's just not at that consistency yet. It's getting close, but if I can still see a bunch of grains, it's just not quite there yet. So I'm going to give it a good mix. It sounds like my blades are getting bogged down a little bit. So I'm going to use my fork to kind of dig down in there and, oh yeah, there's a big chunk right there. It got compressed somehow. That should be better. Okay, I'm gonna grind some more. Okay, I think my blender is having a hard time doing this much at one time, so I'm going to dump out about half and do it in batches. I mean, it's powdered sugar. We're getting close, but it looks more like flour right now. We want that buttery, smooth, powdered texture. Okay. There we go. Okay, that's looking better. Okay, I'm going to call this first batch done. I'm going to get it poured into a quart jar, then do my next one. Whew. Okay, I did my second batch. I've got it loaded in the quart jar and we are done. Let me get the lid on here so I don't make a mess. And here we go, powdered sugar. So with just a few minutes of time and just some basic ingredients, each one of these is only 2 ingredients. We have powdered sugar, light brown sugar, and a big batch of dark brown sugar. Let me hold these up next to each other so you can see the difference. Half a tablespoon per cup, whole tablespoon of molasses per cup. That's how you get dark brown versus light brown sugar. All from just our cane sugar. I hope that was helpful to y'all. I hope it helps you kind of save some money at the grocery store and not have to buy those extra sugars. We can pretty much make what we need just with our basic cane sugar. Hope that was helpful, and we'll see you next time. Bye.